Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Use Discretion podcast. I'm one of your hosts, James, and joining me as usual is Henry.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too shabby. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Time of recording, obviously, you got Money in the Bank around the corner. Got the corporate ladder match, whether it's going to be. It's going to be either amazing or awful. But yeah, no, it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
So, this episode's going to be a bit of a weird one. We don't really have that much of a... Usually we try and have some sort of plan about what we're going to do. But we didn't actually have that good a plan. So what we've kind of realised we've been doing is we've had a few drinks. I'm opening up a new can now. And we just figured we'd voice off on some of our unpopular opinions that we might have about, the WWE today or even the wider wrestling world. We haven't got any restrictions, really. You said you've got quite a good one to start us off.
Well, yeah, obviously we're going off like he's often if you read unpopular opinions on WWE, it's shared with a fair few people. Like any opinion, it's going to be shared with a fair few people. But we were trying to think of stuff that really, because previously we did an episode which was like things we didn't really get when we were kids, or it annoyed us when we were kids. And this is kind of more stuff that annoys us now, but people still love.
Now we're adults.
Now we
Now
understand.
we're grown men.
Now we understand the behind the scenes and the logic of wrestling. It pisses us off. But the one that I was going to start off with is I think it's controversial in wrestling like folklore, but logically it makes sense. And it's the people's elbow is a shit finisher.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with that.
It's terrible. Like it's literally I was watching Hulk Hogan versus The Rock earlier, and outside of the rock bottom, in terms of like finishes, it's like the atomic leg drop and the people's elbow, and they're both just shit. the fact that like The Rock over the years has dispatched of many people, including Hulk Hogan, with the people's elbow is just really upsetting.
I don't disagree with this. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion as such, but I've got 2 points to tell this matter. The drinks are flowing, the tongue's going to be waggling. Firstly, the people's elbow is just an issue in terms of like that sort of move. Like, so John Cena's 5-knuckle shuffle, for example, has dispatched many people.
He's never won a match with a 5-knuckle shuffle. Never ever.
Yes, he has.
No, he always does the 5-knuckle shuffle, and then he does the AA.
I swear I've seen him hit it once though into a pin. I'm almost positive I have. Or even then, he has the lightning fist.
Not to the same except as the not to the same level as the people's elbow though.
Yeah, I think the coup de grace is a shit finisher.
You think the coup de grace is a shit finisher?
Yeah, do you not think the coup de grace? Right, here's my unpopular opinion: the coup de grace is a shite finisher.
It's great. Like in real life, you've like.
Is it? He just jumps on.
In real life, you've just like crushed someone's. You just like crushed someone's stomach.
But do you think it's enough to knock you out to not be able to kick? Like, I feel like I'd still kick out. Don't get me wrong, it would hurt, but I'm not
in
real
life, you've just like crushed someone's ribs, and you probably
if anything, I'm gonna sit up more because I've just been stepped on in the ribs. Therefore, I'm gonna be kicking out almost naturally.
Yeah. I think. Yeah,
I think the coup de grace is terrible.
It's maybe a good like. So like, do you know how the 5-knuckle shuffle is like the move that makes everyone get up and then they get AA'd and it's over? It'd be a good like that move. So if it was like a
I agree
move with Doom and they got up and they did the 1916 or something.
1916 would work well. I
think you'd be more believably taken out. You would more believably lose a fight to a coup de grace than you would a people's elbow.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Have you heard the story about the people's elbows? This is my other point. Why it happened.
Which story? No, I haven't heard this one. No.
So supposedly, from things I've like read and interviews I've seen, the invention of the people's elbow is while on a tour, Triple H, Mankind, and The Rock were trying so hard to get the Undertaker to break character because he never did. So in house shows and on the tours, they would try and come up with the most ridiculous moves ever to try and get the Undertaker to start laughing. And then The Rock just started doing this weird dancing over the Undertaker, bounced off the ropes and hit him with an elbow, and the Undertaker was creasing at it. He was in hysterics. So when he went backstage, Mick Foley and Triple H said to The Rock, like, well, you've got to use that now, because that move is going to go down in history as the move that made the Undertaker laugh. So That's
know,
why the people's elbow
yeah,
existed.
but actually, so funnily, actually, the whole like five knuckle shuffle thing. I saw an interview with John Cena actually, which is a similar thing, where the whole reason, like the whole "you can't see me" thing happened, was because one of his, I think it was his brother, just dared him for a joke. Oh, I dare you won't do this. Now you're on TV and you're like a celebrity. So he just did it, and everyone loved it and started doing the "you can't see me" thing to him. And he was like, "Well, I guess I've got to do this forever now." And that is it. I love how stuff like that happens there in wrestling.
Yeah,
And
stuff like that
obviously,
happens all the
the
time.
balling elbow is obviously the best one. MVP's balling elbow, but yeah, no, I just think it's a terrible. The fact that
Ballin'.
it has dispatched of like many of it's won him world titles, the People's Elbow, and it's
I
like,
don't disagree.
yeah,
Like I
I'm not
love The
saying
Rock as well. The Rock growing up was my favorite wrestler, but I even as a young guy, I didn't like the people. Like I enjoyed it when it came on in matches, but when he won with it, it felt weird. Especially because his finishing maneuver is the rock bottom. So
which
like,
is actually a pretty good finisher. Like
yeah, it's a pretty decent finisher. I'd put it probably in the top
it's like, yeah, it's like
however many of all time. But
the most electrifying move in sport is a guy taking an elbow pad off and elbow dropping someone. Like,
hey, I mean, it can't be as bad as the rear view.
yeah, no, that's true. I love the rear view though because it's just like,
What?
no,
The
no,
rear
no,
view
no,
is
no, no, no,
actually the
no.
worst finisher move of all
I
time.
don't love it in the fact of it being a good move. I love it if you were like, so if you were sat there and you were like, oh yeah, like if I was a wrestler, like I know like a choke slam or like a pedigree or like a tombstone or a rock bottom. But Naomi, or at least the people designing Naomi's character, were there like, no, you're not going to get any of that. Your finishing move is you're going to hit someone in the face with your ass, and then
Half
you're
the
going to
time,
win
it's not even the
matches.
face, and not only
It's like
that,
the chest, it's like the chin, an ass to the
Naomi
chin.
is an athletic wrestler. Like she's actually quite. I have issues with Naomi, but none of it comes down to her ring work. She's brilliant in the ring. She can do all sorts of moves. Like she would benefit so much more from having some sort of like almost like a Trouble in Paradise esque like spinning kick or
She
something
could
like
probably
that.
do like something off the top rope as well, surely.
All that, yeah. Like she could probably hit a moonsault. I'm guessing, but yeah, she just jumps up and hits her butt into their chest a little bit. Like it's like great, cool, and
Yeah,
she's
no,
not.
it's
It's not even
brilliant.
as she's heavy as well. Do you know what I mean? Like you're running into her, but she weighs like what 150 pounds maybe. Like it's
Probably
not.
not much.
If Nia Jax did that to you, you're gonna fall down. But not Naomi. It's yeah. But that's. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion that I'm going into here. I feel like everyone hates the rear view from what I see. So
It's like, I love the idea of the rear view in that it's someone just sat there and they
oh,
were like,
you
that's it,
perv,
you're gonna. No, not in that sense, but it's just the fact that like
you dirty
you've got all
perv.
these like
God.
guys in the performance center and stuff, and they're just sat there like, this is an amazing idea, right? What I want you to do is just jump up. But you even do anything, you just jump up and they run into you, and then you're somehow
Yeah.
knocked out. And that's it's that like, but like yeah, I mean, even the Bailey to belly there as well. That's a terrible finishing move. Like,
Oh yeah, in fact both of the review and the Bailey to Belly are on the. I did an article about the worst finishers, and they're both in there.
oh really?
Uh,
What were the other ones?
I had the Superman punch. Can't
Yeah,
stand it.
that's pretty rubbish. I mean, especially got a spear as well. That's like,
It's also just rubbish because he has to hit like 20 of them in a match, so already it's not an effective move. But Superman punch, I had the woman's right in there because I just hate punching finishing
yeah,
moves.
no,
I just
I
really
get
hate
that.
them.
I get it's like when the Big Show had that one, which was just like the because like
WMD.
what's the difference between a normal punch and then that? That's what I
The
never
one thing
understood.
I would say with the Big Show is though, there's almost a realistic aspect of when because he's such a giant, when he winds back and really hits you, it's going to hurt. Whereas, like in Lacey Evans' case, she's strong. Obviously, she's strong, and she's obviously ex-military, but it's just a normal punch, and that's why it comes into the whole what's the difference between a normal punch and hers. So I did those two were in there. I had the rear view, I had the Bailey to belly, and God, what did I put as my fifth worst finishing move? It was in the current roster.
You're gonna have to
Um,
read it on our website to find out. There
oh
you
yeah,
go.
I'm definitely not
There's the
looking it up
plug.
now.
No, I meant to the
But
people listening, not to you. But
oh,
I
I know.
mean, people
But
listening, you're taking
I'm
it away
also
from
going to
them now.
go on to
They're
our.
never gonna know. They're never. Oh, what are you going on to uselessaggression.com to
I am going on
look at
to
this?
uselessaggression.com, people, and then I'm going on the blog page, and I believe it's in the articles section that I put it there. And oh god, I need to just. Oh no, it's actually in the list section. That's about. I knew we had to kind of have a few drinks, but I went a little bit nuts after work. So, right, worst finishes that I've gone for with Bailey to Belly was 5, Superman Punch was 4, Women's Right was 3rd. Oh, the coup de grace, second.
The coup de grace, the fight. Were you joking? You could have had
Right,
like
here's my. Do
Clash
you
of
want to
the
hear my 5?
Titus or something like that, which are
Oh,
just
I forgot about
really
that.
shit. Like,
Do you
oh,
want to hear
come
my
on.
5 best ones?
5 best what of the current roster?
Current roster.
Okay, yeah. Go on.
I put the bitter end in because I love the bitter end.
Okay.
I put Murphy's Law,
Murphy's Law.
Sister
Okay.
Abigail.
Sister Abigail, really?
I love Sister. The way he holds them there, like just holds them.
But it's more like a theatrical move as it is a practical move, though. I mean, yeah, you
I'm all
stab your hand
about
on
that.
their face, but like,
End,
then that's not the
end of
people's
days
elbow is a theatrical move. End of Days is a good move, yeah, as is
and
Deep
the
Six
Eclipse.
actually, but Eclipse is great, yeah. Then you could have had like I really like the Styles Clash. You didn't put the Styles Clash in there.
I like the Stars Clash, but it has broken someone's neck before, so I was a little bit like, probably shouldn't be putting this in
No,
there.
then
But it is a great
The
move.
Eclipse has injured Ember Moon multiple times,
Yeah,
and it
well,
was
that's what
number
I'm from
one
doing
on
it.
your list.
Right, I'm bringing us
Okay,
back to. I'm bringing us back to my unpopular opinion, and here it is.
okay, what is it?
Awkwardly, I'm pretty sure you agree with this opinion, but I'm going for it anyway. Which is Dean Ambrose is massively overrated and should be a mid card wrestler.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He is. He's average at best. He's pretty dull. And here's the thing I'm going to do to spice it up. Dolph Ziggler is better than John Moxley or Dean Ambrose.
The only thing I will give Dean Ambrose is he's actually pretty good he's pretty good on the mic. That I will
Is
give.
he though? He's
Yeah,
all
he's
right
alright.
on the
He's
mic.
pretty good on the mic.
Dolph Ziggler can be good on the mic when he's given the opportunity to be.
This is true. The only thing I think so yeah, I totally agree. I think Dean Ambrose is a pretty like bang average technical wrestler. But the only thing I think, and we're seeing it to a degree in AEW, is I think if he was in the Attitude Era, he would have been amazing when it was a bit more like blood
I
and
think he'd
violence
have
and
been a
stuff.
bit better, but I don't think he'd be amazing. I think that's almost like the perfect excuse for him. Because even in AEW, I know he's been better, don't get me wrong. But when I'm watching AEW, I'm not like, oh my God, John Moxley. Like, he's good, don't get me wrong, but I'm not. And he had that, he had that really cool, like, hardcore match where they went to town on each other and stuff, but that's all fine. But I'm never like, I've seen better wrestlers still.
Oh yeah, massive. I think Dean Ambrose is. I wouldn't
His
say.
character grows stale quickly as
I
well.
wouldn't
Like,
say
eventually it grows.
necessarily a mid carder. I'd say he's the perfect person that would like. I think maybe you could count this as a mid carder, perhaps. But he's the perfect. He's what Braun Strowman will become. He'll win the world title. He wins the world title once, and people are like, "Yeah, no, he deserves it." And then he'll lose it a few months later, and then probably never win it again. That's what I would say Dean Ambrose is like. Like he'd win the world title, and you'd be like, "Yeah, that's cool." And then like he'd lose it, and you'd be like, "Cool." That's it.
Thinking back, right, when they did the iteration of the brand split with Shane and Steph,
Yeah.
before everyone just decided to just change those anyway. Do you know he was the number one pick for SmackDown?
Yeah, he was. And then it was
At the time, he did have the
wasn't Seth
title, don't get
Rollins
me
the
wrong.
number one pick for Raw?
Seth Rollins went to Raw. He was the number
Yeah,
one
it was.
pick
And then,
overall, and it was Dean Ambrose. Then I'm pretty sure Raw took Brock Lesnar third, and then God, this is my memory.
yeah,
And
was it
then
like Finn
SmackDown took
Balor or
AJ.
someone, wasn't it?
SmackDown took AJ Styles, and then Raw took Finn Balor because it was the
That
whole
was
Raw
it,
gets free
yeah.
picks and SmackDown's too. Um,
And that was when
and
Roman Reigns went in the second round because he'd just been done for a drugs breaking
yeah,
he failed a drugs test, didn't he? So you got like deducted to the second round.
but that was also that's the thing I also hate about that draft. I'm going on a rant here about those stupid drafts they do. Is when they do Raw has three picks to SmackDown having two, and then but because of the way the draft works, then pick six goes to Raw again, so they get four picks to SmackDown. The whole thing's just ridiculous when they do that. It just
Because
is
it's the
annoying as well.
flagship show, James.
Oh
The
yeah, but SmackDown's
flagship
just so
show.
much better. But
No,
anyway,
I agree,
here's
but
my
like
thing. Dean
it's the thing.
Ambrose, average it, but he's not that amazing on the mic. To be fair though, you know, I guess Roman Reigns was in there. It should have made him look better on the mic. He's not particularly good. But anyway, there I am. Dean Ambrose, average. I'd say mid carder. I'd say Dolph Ziggler is a better wrestler than Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, but
If I had
Dolph
both of them,
Ziggler is great though.
I'd put
No
Ziggler
one
over.
disagrees on that. But actually, speaking of Dean Ambrose and violent AEW matches and whatnot, did you see the match from Dynamite just gone, where it's Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara and Kenny Omega and Matt Hardy, and it's like a Falls Count Anywhere like hardcore match.
Do you know what? I actually haven't watched AEW
And
yet this
there's a
week.
bit where like they just chase Kenny Omega and Matt Hardy steal like a golf caddy, and they just chase Sammy Guevara around in a golf cart, and it's hilarious. It's just a picture that they put on like Instagram, and it is literally Sammy Guevara just sprinting, shitting himself. He's getting chased by the two of them with a golf cart. I know that's a sign note. But actually,
Sammy Guevara, or Gueva, however I say it, not too much. He's got such a future ahead of him. He is so good.
oh, he's so good. Or Liz Sex Gods, which is him and right. My other for this one, I was thinking about this the other day. Because I was rewatching as well. I rewatched if you can call it a match, the John Cena Bray Wyatt one from WrestleMania. And actually, I much prefer and think is much better Bray Wyatt as his old cult leader than he is as the Fiend. That's a very unpopular opinion of mine because everyone loves. I think he's better. But so here's my thing. I was thinking about this actually with the Fiend and what's going obviously with Money in the Bank, with Braun Strowman, and what happened with Goldberg and his title run and stuff. And I think, and I've read something actually as well, which is actually really interesting as a point, and it's that either he should never have won it in the first place, or he probably shouldn't win it again, and that's the Fiend winning the world title.
Yeah, I agree
And
with that point.
the reason for it is because he's such a how do you describe it? He's such a like he's kind of like the new Undertaker. That's kind of his new thing now as the Fiend. But like it's the fact that with the Undertaker, you see the Undertaker struggle in matches. You see him get beaten down and eventually comes back sometimes and wins it. But the Fiend has this sort of weird invincible thing about him where like even if you just like hit him with like what I got hit with like however many spears, whatever, he just gets up again. And it's just like straight away he just gets up at one. And he just seems to be you never really see him. I mean, obviously, yeah, he lost to Goldberg, but we won't talk about that. But like, you never really see him get sent to a limit and stuff. And you reach this point. The problem is, you reach this point though, where people people love him though so much as a character that what should become this great moment where you've got this really young up and coming face like overcoming the odds and fighting the Fiend and fighting the Fiend and fighting the Fiend. People just don't want him to lose. So you've kind of, but on top of that as well, is he's such a mystically strong character that he almost can't afford to lose because once he loses, that's it, and like the lure about him's gone. And that we saw that with the Goldberg thing though. Like once he lost to Goldberg, people were like, "Oh, that's the Fiend done now as a character."
Yeah, I agree with your point. I think they've booked him. I love the Fiend character, and the character of the Fiend I think is better than Bray Wyatt's old persona. However, I have got some issues. Yeah, he's been booked to be invincible, and the issue you've then got is if who I don't think there's anyone on the current roster who could beat him and the fans would be happy. And
Yeah, no. I mean, Christ, to put Daniel Bryan against him, people were like, "Nah."
yeah, like, and even in the past, you can build people up. Like, don't get me wrong, you could have Undertaker being the Undertaker, but I mean, take WrestleMania streaks out of the equation. But if he lost to a Triple H or a Stone Cold or a Rock, you'd allow it. Like, it would just be allowed. Whereas the Fiend, I think if anyone beat him, people would be pissed off. And as you said, the thing that worries me about him is some things that make great matches are the story going into it. And even though they've done a good job with this Bray Wyatt, the Braun Strowman feud, sorry, and they did an all right job with the Cena feud, the fact that he has to promo as this kids presenter is going to eventually mean you don't get that much heart out of it. There's going to be a feud where that doesn't work. And equally, some of the best, like Undertaker Shawn Michaels, incredible match at WrestleMania, yeah. But you saw, as you've kind of hinted at earlier, both men do it their all. Like they did everything and they were shattered by the end of it, and they were, one arm covers and they're barely kicking out, and they're really. Whereas if you have a person who's invincible, they're never going to be able to have that match.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that strap match with Bryan and him at Royal Rumble, and yeah, he just got up all the time. He looked a little bit tired at the end, but he didn't really look like Daniel Bryan was lying there as like a heap of a mass at the end of the match. But the Fiend was just sort of stood there like, yeah, cool. Even when he lost to Goldberg, like when Goldberg speared him, he got up again after he got pinned, like straight away. And it was just a bit like I just think it's and I think his like cult leader version was so much more charismatic as well. Like, I mean, how great, like week in, week out, how amazing with promos of like Chris Jericho, his promos of John Cena, like all of that stuff. Even like to a degree, his promos of Randy Orton were fine. It's just their match sucked at WrestleMania. But like he was great as this little cult leader. Like he was like I loved Bray Wyatt as a cult leader. In fact, when he won that world title at Elimination Chamber, I was so happy, and then he lost it like 4 weeks later. But I just think he was a better character, like cult leader Bray. I just thought he was better,
I can see
and he
it.
had a better
I
theme.
think maybe. Oh no, I love the new theme. Oh, that I love it.
No, no, you're joking. Like you're joking. I
love
love the
the
little
old
like.
theme. I
That's
really
so
like the
good.
new one. But then you preferred Nakamura's old entrance to to his new
Yeah,
one, which
no,
I
I hate
preferred
his
the new
new
one.
one. It's just really out of tune
Right.
Japanese rapping. It's
So
awful.
here's an unpopular opinion for you, but I feel like I don't know. Some people might agree with me. Um, I would have released Shinsuke Nakamura in the recent cuts.
No way, no way.
100%.
No, I think the thing with Nakamura is, so I
He's
think he's
lazy.
the victim of. He's a victim of bad booking. I
I
think.
don't think he is anymore. People say that, and they're always like he's had bad booking. He's a bad booking, and I think that is the case for a lot of people when they come up from NXT. But I, I don't know if that counts for Nakamura. He's had feuds with AJ Styles, and that still wasn't great. Like the matches weren't great, and the feud was just around them kicking each other in the nuts. He's got
Yeah,
quite a
but
good paycheck to come over
so
there, and he's just not bothered.
I think the thing with Nakamura is I think he's a victim of a bad booking, and I think he's also a victim of WWE being very top heavy. So like if you think about him and AJ Styles and that WrestleMania match, like it was a really really technical, almost coincidentally New Japan-y match in that it was just technique. It was just pure wrestling technique, um, and I think that suffered from being at the end of a very long show as well. Like it wasn't a very good match, but it was also at the end of a very long show, so the crowd were just dead for it. But I think if you're honestly there's always a small part of me because obviously because it's Vince as well that thinks that maybe half a lot of the reason that feud sucked and it revolved around kicking each other in the nads was partly Vince just being like, oh no, these are two like massive New Japan indie people, and obviously because Vince is very like with this like case in point with Sting and Triple H and
But
stuff
he's
like
put a
that.
lot of faith in AJ Styles.
He
Like he's
has,
given AJ
yeah,
Styles a great run.
but by that point in time, AJ Styles he had beaten Cena by then. Or he had,
Yeah, he had. Yeah,
he had beaten Cena by then, yeah. But like, I think if you honestly asked Nakamura and Styles, do you want a feud which revolves around you kicking each other in the nuts? 100%, they would neither of them have been like, no way, like, no way, like that's
yeah.
someone else's booking, like not theirs.
Do you know
Um,
what? There are stories though that you hear of people being told something, and if they're passionate enough about not doing it, they don't. And I just feel like they could have fought back on it. But it's not even necessarily about the feud about kicking each other in the balls. It's about he's just not delivered. I don't think he's ever delivered an all right match on TV, like ever since coming up to the main roster. Granted, in NXT he was all right, but
and at NXT,
he's
had
had
some
the
great matches,
opportunities,
yeah.
some great matches, but they still weren't. I wouldn't say. I just think he is completely living off his pre WWE hype, and I'm pretty sure he's getting quite a good paycheck to be there. And I just feel like I'd have been a bit like, look, do you know what? You're not really bothered, mate. You can jog on. I know you say they're top heavy, but even then, in the mid card section, of such of people who've kind of been in the world title picture. But again, I'd rather put the title on Dolph Ziggler than him. I'd rather put the title on Baron Corbin than him. Uh, there are people I'd rather put the title on Sami Zayn than him, Kevin Owens than him. Like there are so many other people in that mid card who rather see as a world champion than him. And I know he's got the ability, but he just never bloody uses it.
But I agree. Yeah, he's not like lit the world on fire. But I think you know it's there. And I think like if they released him, he'd obviously just go to AEW or somewhere like that, or back to New Japan, and then just be amazing again.
If they
And then
if
they'd
they
be
had
sat
released
there
him, I'd
like,
have been more upset
shit.
about Rusev.
Yeah, Rusev, bless him. But yeah, no, I agree. He's not set the world on fire, but like I think I do think he has also suffered from some pretty shit booking. Like how great actually after he did the whole no blow on Styles was his little thing where he was just there like I don't speak English, and he was just a massive bellend. Like, I thought that was great. And then like 4 weeks later, they were having another kick in the nuts fight. But like I think had they done that run with that character of him just being a dick, but then they just had normal matches or good matches, I think he would be in a better position. But I think because that feud was so crap, um, it was just
Do you know
very
what I
much a
think the issue
classic.
is?
Like, we'll move on. What's that?
They changed his attire. Ever since they've put him in that weird jumpsuit, he's been shit.
That's it. It must be that. Ever since they've changed his theme, that's what it is. They've changed his theme, and he's
No,
shit.
the theme was great.
No, the theme is not great. It's terrible. It's like the really out of tune Japanese rapping. It doesn't even fit the song.
It does. It's amazing. It's a great theme.
But that's it. Ever since that theme changed, he's been crap, and that is
Hold
it. It's
on,
all
you're
been
going on about
downhill.
his bloody theme, right? In our entrance music madness, you bloody used a wild card to save John Cena past Nakamura.
And I do it again because John Cena's theme is amazing. Does Nakamura have his own album? No, he doesn't. Is Nakamura invisible? No, he's not. Does Nakamura sing in his own theme? No, he doesn't. Does Nakamura come up with lyrical genius like "I'll brush your mouth like Colgate"? No, he doesn't.
I hate you so
There you
much.
go. I actually bought a pop vinyl of John Cena the other day. Genuinely, I actually did. I'm hoping it arrives in time for Money in the Bank, so I can just sit there on webcam holding my John Cena pop vinyl as the Doctor of Thugonomics. What a guy! Actually, it's funny you should mention Baron Corbin though,
Okay, go for
because I mean,
Baron Corbin.
I don't think this is an unpopular opinion with you because I think you'd actually agree with me, but I know a lot of people that probably wouldn't. And I mean when I say it, I honestly think Baron Corbin is hands down the best heel in the company right now, and I think he should be a champion in the next like 3 months.
What a world champion.
I think he should be. I genuinely think he should be. Like,
I don't think he should be a world champion.
someone made a really good point of if he won Money in the Bank, how amazing would he be with the briefcase? Like, he would be the most hateable person. Like, and you would genuinely not want him to cash in. Like, you'd be like, please don't, because you're such a dick.
Right.
But you'd be like, because you know he would be so good as a heel champion. Like, you know he would be amazing. Right, maybe not 3 months. Within this remaining year, I think he should be world champion. I do think he is the best heel in the company, but I think he's better than the Fiend because the Fiend's not really. The Fiend doesn't actually do any. The Fiend just wins. Like, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't like cheat. He's not like a dickhead. He's just a bad character. Seth Rollins, yeah, is good as a heel, but like Baron Corbin is the only heel I've ever known where I actually hate him. I actually hate Baron Corbin. But that's equally in that mind, I love him because he is that good at his job. He is just so hateable. And how good would he be with a briefcase and later a championship? If he had his little like entourage of bad guys that help him win titles all the time, he would be amazing. It was like when Rollins first won the world title when he cashed in, and he had like J&J security and Kane and stuff, and he would just come out all the time holding the belt, laughing, and it was amazing. I think it would be like that level of epic heelness.
I think it has the potential to be that level. Right, I don't hate Baron Corbin. I think he's a very good heel. He can I think it's because it's part of his character, but he can be so uncharismatic and boring from time to time, and that's what I think holds him down from being a the. I think he would be all right with the title, but there's a chance he could be a bit dull. He needs, if he's going to be a champion, he needs an entourage though. He
Oh
needs a
yeah,
team with
massively.
him. He can't be a heel, and it has to be a full team as well. Yeah, it can't be just one person that pops him up. But
But yeah, no, like he'd be like I think like he'd be good. Like when I was saying earlier, actually with Dean Ambrose, like Baron Corbin would be such a great like one and done champion. Like he wins the title, has like a couple of months. This is what Jinder Mahal's title reign should have been, where he was just
we didn't
winning
talk
it
about
through
that.
when he was just
We
winning
never
it
talk
through
about
like
Jinder.
really crap race. He's our podcast champion. He's our podcast lord and savior currently as it stands. Our podcast champion, Jinder Mahal. Sad times. But like he would be like for a couple of months if you just had all these really great faces, people like Drew McIntyre and people like that that people love, and he just continuously sorry, that's really awkward. People like Drew McIntyre, people like that everyone loves, and he just continuously survives against them because he has this really crap entourage of people, and he just keeps retaining the title. It would be amazing. Like it would be so funny, and like, but I think it would also actually the good thing about it is it sounds really frustrating, but equally it makes a star in the person that eventually beats him. Like when AJ Styles eventually beat Jinder, for example, everyone was like, "Yeah, this is the best thing that's ever happened."
I
Uh,
mean, AJ was a star before that though.
well, yeah, I know he
I
was,
think
but like,
I think that was more
people
just
love,
relief that they didn't
yeah.
have Jinder actually beating arguably the best wrestler in the world.
Or when you had Jinder facing Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series, can you imagine if that happened? That would have been amazing. I would have loved that because it would have been like the most one. It would have been the most one-sided bout you've ever seen.
Yeah, I'd have liked it if they let them have a shoot fight and you just saw Brock Lesnar
This is
kicking the
Brock
crap out
doesn't
of
kill him,
Jinder Mahal. But uh,
but yeah,
yeah,
no, I think
I
Baron
don't,
Corbin's the
I
best heel
don't,
in the company. Like I think he
I don't
is.
hate that opinion. I'm not 100% on it. I'm like 70% with you on it. I do think he's great, um, but I would say when they're, I mean, I know he's not on TV at the minute. I think Sami Zayn is a better heel than Baron Corbin. Uh, in terms of there being the top heel. But the thing with Baron Corbin that also lets him down for me is as great as he can be, sometimes it's like the worst thing he ever did as a heel is he poured dog food on Roman Reigns. Like he needs to do more dastardly things than that to get
But
to
then,
the
like,
next level.
aren't like the best heels the ones that just do the crappy petty stuff though? Like, look at when
No,
Seth
the
Rollins
best
was
heels is like Randy Orton is a
yeah,
heel
yeah,
when
yeah,
he's attacking, wives and whatnot. Like
yeah. But
that's
then
the
like
best heels.
when Seth Rollins again was like the corporate or the authority champion, he wasn't really doing anything that dastardly. Like he was just kind of surviving all the time and doing his little like
But
like laughing.
those are your two types of heels, though. You have your ones who scrape by, and you have your ones who are just they do horrible things. And
That's what I
Baron
mean.
Corbin
He's a great
doesn't
scrape
do
by heel.
horrible things. He could be a great escape. I'm not fully against it, but I'm going to go on to a new rant here. You ready?
I'm ready.
I think people should shut up when it comes to the four horsewomen because, in my opinion, I mean Charlotte, best of all time. Becky Lynch has
I
half
know
come
where this
good,
is
but
going.
she's on a decline. But Bailey and Sasha Banks, I think
I
there were
was
better.
waiting
I
for
think they
this.
did some more. But I think they have. I think Alexa Bliss is better than either of them.
Yeah, this is a weird one because obviously the reason they were called the Four Horsewomen when that was going on, Alexa Bliss was either A, not in the company, or B, was essentially a manager of Buddy Murphy and co. So it's more the fact of what they represent. But that's the thing, though. If you flip that with, obviously, the whole thing of the four horsemen of MMA and stuff like that, is of all of them, like to the best of my knowledge, Ronda Rousey is the only like legitimate MMA star. Like, yeah, Shayna Baszler had like a couple of matches, as did the other two, but like it's not the other like Ronda Rousey like genuinely revolutionized women's MMA. Meanwhile, the other three didn't.
Yeah,
They're
legit, but
just three people that came over. So I think
I would say
it's more. I
that the
think
four horsewomen of the WWE should be Charlotte, Becky, Alexa Bliss, and Paige. That's who should be remembered as the four horsewomen who actually changed the industry.
would you not have AJ Lee in there though?
Do you know what? I wouldn't have
Or
AJ Lee, but that's not her fault. That's just because she was at the back. I mean, actually, if I'm really going back, I
or
considered,
Trish,
even though,
Trish in there, like
yeah, I considered China to be,
yeah.
someone who tried to revolutionize the industry. But I mean, Sasha Banks and Bailey are a horseman by association because they were there. And yes, again, they had all right matches in NXT, well,
They had
good matches
great
in NXT.
matches in NXT.
But
James,
um,
don't bring your dislike of Sasha Banks into this. They had
yeah,
great
but
matches at
so
NXT.
Sasha Banks can technically say like, "Oh yeah, I won X amount of titles and I was in the first Hell in a Cell match." That's purely because you were there against Charlotte. I don't think that's because she was
They were the
actually.
first women's main event of a pay per view, which was no NXT though, which was Bailey and Sasha Banks, first and only Iron Woman match.
Yeah, but we
Um,
shouldn't keep counting NXT. Like NXT is brilliant. It's the best product WWE have, and that's fine. But when you then come up to the roster, the main roster, and the thing is, there are great people who were called up and weren't used properly. Like Tyler Breeze was not used
yeah, but
properly.
then
The
if you're
roster.
talking
Samoa
about
Joe's not been used properly. Sasha Banks and Bailey have been top stars ever since they came up to the main roster. Have they had good matches? If you take Charlotte out of them, because again, Charlotte is that good. She can elevate anyone. Take Charlotte out of any of the matches they've been in. They have subpar matches. Their mic skills have been crap. They've
yeah, but then
barely engaged people in a
most
feud.
of the matches though they've been in have had Charlotte in, and then if you take Charlotte out of it, it's normally someone like Lacey Evans, for example, which is fine, but it's not like actually like Sasha Banks had a great match with Ronda Rousey at Royal Rumble. That happened. That was a good match. Yeah, no, I think you've got to remember though when they all came up to and when you see about NXT people like being great at NXT and go to the main roster, it was different. So obviously, NXT people like Tyler Breeze come up to the main roster, and obviously there's a lot of people on the main roster for them to compete with. Meanwhile, when Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky, they were the original three to came up, it was them and like the Bella twins and Naomi and people like that. So with the exception of Naomi, I mean, arguably Nikki Bella was obviously top of the card, but not by technique. No offense to her. So they had no one. So like they were just the out and out. They were the best ones. They were the out and out best three that went up, and obviously Bailey eventually came up as well.
I mean, I don't even.
And that was
I
it.
still think
Like
there are people there that would have been better than Banks, though. Banks has just not delivered at all
you just hate Sasha Banks so much.
because she's
It's
never
funny.
delivered though.
She's
She's
good. She's
never
good for
delivered on the
anyone.
main
She's
roster.
fantastic here. Because she gets injured all the time is why. She just gets injured.
Right. She's also supposedly a terrible person backstage. I'm just going to bring that up as well. But
You don't like Sasha
yeah,
Banks. I can
I
tell.
don't because she's never given me a reason to. She's never been that. To be honest, Bailey was all right when she first came out. Then she got fired.
I'd actually wager Sasha Banks is a better wrestler than Bailey.
No, I'd say Bailey's better than
I think
Sasha.
Sasha Banks is better than Bailey. I do. In terms of character work, she's better.
All right, in terms of character work, when is the last time Sasha Banks was relevant?
Yeah, but
Like, when was anyone
that's
really?
not her fault though. She's
Yeah,
relevant
but
now. She's relevant now.
she's relevant now because people are waiting for her and Bailey because Bailey's character has worked so well. Bailey's change has been great, but Sasha Banks is just crap for me. She's just not. Right, she's not crap because the thing is, in the women's division, as we've kind of spoken of before, there's such a gap between the top people and the bottom people. And when I say she's crap, I almost feel like that's unfair because crap people in the women's division are like Tamina's and people like Alicia
Hey,
Fox.
Tamina could be winning the SmackDown Women's title at Money in the Bank.
I will be so upset if that happens because she's so horrible.
I don't think it will, but it could happen. But no, yeah, I think the problem here is Charlotte is obviously out and out the best one. Like, there's no discussion about that. And then most of the thing is though is Charlotte is always in the main, more or less in the main event scene in some way, shape, or form. So when you've got people like Bailey or Sasha, it's hard to really measure them against many other people, so they just haven't fought that many other people. They always fight each other. They always fight
I feel like
Charlotte.
they fought quite a few, but
But
I
like,
know
I
what
mean,
you mean.
like, so in
Charlotte
terms
has
of like,
been
so
around.
like Bailey has, since being like champion and stuff, she had that feud with Alexa Bliss, and then
Who should get more credit? 100%
oh
should
no,
get more credit.
I'm not denying that. Alexa Bliss is fantastic. Like Alexa Bliss actually on my Baron Corbin thing is one of the better heels in the when she's a heel, she's one of the better heels in the company.
As a heel,
Um,
I'd say as a heel, she's the top heel in the
in the whole
yeah,
company.
heel female in the company. Because the one thing I'll say, as much as I love Charlotte, she isn't the best on the mic.
She's right. Like she's just, I
That's
think,
it. She
yeah,
does the
like,
job. She ticks the box. But Alexa Bliss as a heel is top. Like
but I
she's the
think,
best.
yeah, I think the
Best.
Four Horsewomen thing
Actually,
though.
no. Hold on. Carmella. I'd say Carmella and Alexa Bliss are the best two women on the mic in
Oh, I
WWE
can't
today.
stand Carmella. No way, can't stand her.
You used to love her. I used to hate
No,
her.
I
You
didn't.
used
No,
to
no,
love
no,
her. How
no.
is this one?
I used to love
I
her
used to slag
theme.
her off all the time, and
I
you'd be like,
used
"Oh
to
no,
love.
Mella
I
is
used
money.
no,
Mella
no,
is
no.
money."
I used to say that. I said Mella is money because she won me a title in a podcast prediction. That's the only reason I said Mella is money. So I said I reckon she's going to win something, and she did. And then I
I don't
won.
know
Then
if
I
I,
won a title as a result of that.
he's a turncoat. He's a turncoat.
No,
All of
no,
these
no.
opinions.
And I liked her
All these
theme as well. It
opinions.
was
You used
catchy.
to love the people's elbow. You used to say it was your favourite move.
And
Last
but
week,
like
you
I
told
think
me.
the thing is though with the Four Horsemen, or going back to the actual Four Horsemen and stuff, is I think you got to remember as well. I think that was more a like because at that time as well, they're really trying to push women's wrestling as they should have been doing. Obviously, the women's revolution to make it as relevant as the men's one is. And I think by having something like the Four Horsemen, that does that. And to be fair, like at the time, they were the four because Alexa Bliss was a non-factor at the time. Like so at the time, hands down, they were the
I
four.
get why they are the four, but like I just think I think people talk about the four too much. And actually, as I said, like if you really go back in terms of the four women who like I know they're the four because they came at the same time, but the four women who defined the women's revolution for me are Paige, Alexa Bliss, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch.
Yeah, then Becky Lynch. I don't know if Becky Lynch would though, because
Thing is, I agree. I'm going to say
she's
this.
only been relevant in the last year and a half. Is Becky Lynch
The
really?
thing, but in that year and a half as well, I'd say a year of it's been absolute shite. I'd say she was relevant for a year and a half, but I don't think it counts from her Mania win. I think that's actually the start of her decline. Her rise was when there was the whole hashtag Give Becky a Chance, and then she won, and then she became the man, and I think that kind of all of that thing. But since so we were saying before we came on, I read something today. So before Money in the Bank, Becky Lynch has had in a year 34 matches on TV since she won the title at Mania, including Raw, SmackDowns if she ever appeared there. I don't know if she did, and pay-per-views, and like 16 of them are tag matches. This is your, supposed to be the pinnacle of your division. She's just not having matches. She just comes out and mouths off, but she's grown stale.
Would any of Becky Lynch, man, all this stuff thing, would any of this have been a bigger deal if it wasn't for Ronda Rousey?
I think genuine. I don't get me wrong. Ronda Rousey was great, but I think once the man character happened, the excitement was there was then two people that were good enough to headline a WrestleMania for the women who were good enough to headline a WrestleMania, and that was Charlotte and Becky Lynch. She finally stepped up to her level, and Ronda Rousey added the sparkle to it. But I think if Ronda Rousey wasn't a factor, you still could have had Becky Lynch versus Charlotte headline WrestleMania.
See, I don't know if you would. I don't know because when you had,
God, it's so sexist.
No, not like I'm just saying because when you had Ronda Rousey debut at Royal Rumble, debut turned up and pointed at the sign a few times really awkwardly. Everyone was like, "Yeah, next year's WrestleMania, Ronda Rousey's going to face someone in the main event, probably Charlotte." Everyone said that. Like,
And
no
then the
one
man
was
happened.
like Becky. Yeah, but then like no one beforehand was like, oh, no one was like it should be Becky Lynch versus Charlotte. Everyone was like, yeah, Ronda Rousey, Charlotte. Everyone was
Though,
like, yeah, Ronda Rousey, Charlotte.
Becky Lynch was because the build up to that Survivor Series match and their feuding on Twitter was massive.
Oh,
and
it was
then obviously
good.
Nia
It's very
Jax
good.
ruined it for everyone.
Nia
That's
Jax.
why that's how I think also Becky Lynch got inserted into it. But equally, like you had, I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone knew Becky was going to come out and win that Rumble, even though she wasn't supposed to be in it. But like as soon as Lana is like limping her way to the ring, everyone in the crowd is losing their minds because they know what's about to happen. And then Becky stumbles down and Finlay lets her into the match and stuff. And like the pop is huge. So I think Becky deserves to be there. But I think she has grown stale since.
I do. Speaking of growing stale, and this one I think is possibly very controversial, perhaps my most controversial one yet. So I would say 50% of the time, Paul Heyman is stale as fuck. 50% of the time. So like, I always think at the start of a feud, he is amazing because he comes out and he always bigs up certain people. And then the remaining few weeks is him just saying the same thing over and over and over again. And he just rattles off all these little catchphrases. And don't get me wrong, he does a really good job of putting people over, and he's really, really good at it. He puts over Brock Lesnar and everything. But I just think he comes out and says the same thing every single week. So like for the first week or two, like, yeah, I'm really into this. And then by the time the match is, you're just like, please just shut up. You're not like, please just shut up in like, oh, you're such a heel, please shut up. You're just there like, you're saying the same thing over and over and over again. I
disagree. I think Paul
I
Heyman is. I think in terms of your wrestling genii, is that the word for geniuses? I don't know. But anyway,
yeah, I guess so. Right. It is now.
Vince McMahon is number one. As much as, regardless of how batshit crazy he sometimes goes, you cannot deny the man is a genius, and he knows what he's doing 90% of the time, maybe 80%.
Maybe 70%.
Supposedly in the last few weeks, it's gone downhill a bit, but I would say Paul Heyman is next. I think he understands the industry, and
I agree.
Being a heel is him saying that same stuff over again. Like the thing is, I think the thing that's difficult for him as well is he's the mouthpiece for Brock Lesnar. Like, it's not like there's a lot there to speak up about. I think, for example, when he was aligned with CM Punk as well, that we saw him do better things then. But I think the issue is, I think he is a brilliant manager, but I'd say the issue is with Brock Lesnar because Brock Lesnar does none of the talking at all for himself. Yes,
except he can insult Hulk Hogan that one time. It was like, party's over, Grandpa.
But yeah, I would say, but I think Paul Heyman is an absolute genius.
No, I
think
agree.
He's done wonders to Raw since he's come back. Even though Raw recently has been a bit weird, but they've got A, no crowd, and B, they've got like quite a bit of the roster supposedly just choosing not to turn up. But I think he's. But I get your point.
I
but
think
I'm still I'm not going to speak ill of Paul Heyman.
No, I agree. I totally agree with it. Like, he is a genius. Like, and I think he's a really captivating bloke as well. And he obviously knows the industry better than arguably anyone except Vince McMahon.
Does he have an autobiography?
Probably. I'd be amazed if he doesn't.
I've just decided that I want to read his autobiography.
I hope it opens with, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman. But like,
I want it to say that, do you know what the E stands for? And Paul E. Heyman? Ooh, gross.
But like, I just think he does say the same. Like, when Brock Lesnar first, I say Brock Lesnar debuted, Paul Heyman first debuted that whole like eat, sleep, conquer the streak, conquer John Cena, conquer insert next opponent here thing. After a while, you were like, all you do is come out and say the same thing. And you'll always come and say the same thing. You'll come out and be like, you'll be victimized by Brock Lesnar. And he'll say some stuff. And he'll say something about Suplex City. He always says, I love his like introduction when he nicks the mic from the people in tag. He doesn't do that anymore, which is really annoying. When he like nicks the mic from the people introducing Brock in like title matches and stuff. I love that. That's great. And I do say, I think 50% of the time, I maybe change it, maybe 65% of the time, he is great. Like, he is absolutely spot on. But there is this really big period where you are just like, you're just saying the same stuff. And I agree, I don't think it's any fault necessarily of his. Like, there's only so much you can do with Brock Lesnar, especially if he doesn't compete on Monday night. Meanwhile, if you had someone like CM Punk, who would compete week in, week out as well. You can be like, last week my client did this, and then like this week my client's going to do this. When it's Brock Lesnar, you can only really be like, oh yeah, that's 3 weeks ago my client did this, 4 weeks ago my client did this. And I think I agree with you in that sense, it's the Brock Lesnar thing. But I think you can't, as much as like he is a legend, you can't deny at least sometimes Paul Heyman is quite boring, or he just comes out with the same stuff over and over again. Like that, you can't deny that. You can't deny that. Like even Brock Lesnar will probably admit that.
Brock Lesnar doesn't know what he's on about.
But no, I just think it's a bit of a. I think the whole Paul Heyman Brock Lesnar thing is quite stale now. Like they've been doing the same thing
I
for
agree that they've gone stale, but I'd say
6 years.
The issue is
if
Brock
not more.
Lesnar is still money. He's still blockbuster, and he cannot or refuses to speak himself. So
Yeah.
I get the point, but annoyingly,
Paul Heyman needs a new Paul Heyman guy, basically.
Oh, 100%. He should have a whole group of Paul Heyman
There was
guys.
that bit at WrestleMania 30, post WrestleMania 30, when Cesaro, my boy Cesaro, had just won Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and then he was like, I'm a Paul Heyman guy. And I was like, this is it. This is when Cesaro gets a bloody world title push. And then 6 years later, he still is doing
Do you know
nothing.
what? Here's a bombshell to it. We'll wrap up with a big bombshell here.
You're just
I don't think this is purely aimed at you. I don't think Cesaro has the charisma to be a world champion.
Charisma? Yeah. I don't ever watched him on Up, Down, Down. He's actually really funny.
I've been watching so much Up, Down, Down with
he is actually really Bruno, he's actually hilarious.
Even in that, he's very stoic, hilarious. I don't think you could put a world title on Cesaro.
I completely disagree. You can definitely put a world title on Cesaro.
Here is
like,
well, yeah, but
of course you can.
Do you really think he could go out and deliver you that promo to get to be invested in the main event? I rate him really highly. I think he's brilliant in the ring. I agree.
But this is why he needs to be a Paul Heyman guy. If he had. Well, no, I don't necessarily think that. Like, I think the thing you'll say with Cesaro is I think there is a degree the fact that obviously English isn't his first language. I think that's a factor for sure.
But
you see him sometimes say stuff and he stutters over, like Nakamura's, and he stutters over words occasionally.
You think he needs a mouthpiece? Yeah.
I think if he had he is in terms of as a wrestling performer, in terms of like athletically in the ring, he is one of the best. If he had, I think he's great. I think he is charismatic as well. Like he does his like little gestures to the crowd before the Cesaro swing, stuff like that. When they were in the bar were great. People loved them, and that wasn't solely Sheamus either. That was the two of them.
If you say he needs a mouthpiece, is all the difference. He's got a great mouthpiece currently in Sami Zayn, but would you say right now you could put about like the world title on him?
Well, no, but that's down to booking though as well. There is a degree of momentum that I think comes with being a world champion. Like, if you were to just, I don't know, let's look at who we've got. Aleister Black. I love Aleister Black. Like, and he is a future world champion. If tomorrow he won the world title, I'd be like, where the hell's that come from? I'd be like, yeah, cool, really happy. But equally, I would just be like, where the hell has that come from?
Do you know what? Controversially, I'd rather Aleister Black have the world title than any of the two world champions currently.
Oh no, Drew McIntyre, are you joking?
My issue with Drew
McIntyre. Oh no, you can't say that.
Do you know what? I really don't mind Drew, but he got turned face so quickly to then win the Royal Rumble. Like he needed more time to be a face.
You're just salty. You're just salty because you lost that Royal Rumble prediction.
I don't like the counting to the Claymore. I think it's really stupid. And,
you loved that. You told me you liked that.
No, I hate it. And I think it's really stupid because if you hear a count, you'd be like, well, I'm not going to stand up then, am I? I'm going to stay. But also, the thing that worries me with Drew, I think they've just very quickly rushed his face being into the top face of the company. And I think it's because of the deal they signed with BT Sport. And it worries me that they're going to, because they rushed him into it, when he loses that title, he won't get to the top again because he wasn't built properly into it. That's what worries me. I think he's a great champion, but I think he hasn't had the proper journey to get to the championship.
I don't know. They did a
I think
really really
I
good
think they,
job in
I think they rushed it. I
commentary
think they
and
pulled the
whatnot,
trigger.
though. They did
Yeah,
a
and
really
Paul
good
Heyman
job.
gets a lot of credit as well because Paul Heyman built him up. But
But no, it's
I
in
would.
the as well.
That's
So the
my
whole
worry.
there's the thing with
That's my
Drew.
concern.
There's the thing with Drew, where obviously, like, he was in the company and he was the chosen one, however many years ago, and then he, like, obviously got fired. He part of 3MB
Because he
and all
was
that stuff.
shit.
But he's openly said himself, he was like, yeah, I put no effort in. I was really really crap. So I took myself away and then like worked really really hard. I watched like the Chronicle on him. It's really good. You should watch it.
Interesting question on Drew McIntyre before you carry on. Do you think he took steroids while he was away?
I actually don't, because he was away a
I don't
long
know if he
time.
does, but like, dear God, when you see the images of how he was when he left to how he came back, you're like, ooh. I mean, I don't think he did, but there's a part of me that's
Well,
like,
because
Jesus.
there was like things, because he was definitely on the like bench for so long, wasn't he? Like he was saying, like he watched WrestleMania 31 from like a pub in Glasgow and stuff like that. Um, and but no, I mean, if you watch the Chronicle on him as well, he's a very genuinely likable person. And I think this is actually he's actually a very charismatic bloke as well. And I think they did a very good job of bringing that out in the build up to WrestleMania. But
Yeah,
I think the one thing that he has got in his favor as well, though, is he's such an imposing physique. You could turn him heel and he would be great. Like,
I think he will be. I just worry. What I don't want is this to be a knee jerk reaction, and the way that they very quickly turned him face, win a Royal Rumble, win at WrestleMania, worries me. It has aspects of Jinder about it when they did the whole thing trying to get big in
but
India, and obviously they signed that
people
big
want
TV
Drew
deal.
McIntyre to succeed, though. People don't want Jinder to succeed. Like he had a
I mean,
massive
Jinder is
pop when he won the Royal Rumble. He
based on
would
his
have
visitor.
had
Yeah,
that WrestleMania been in front of a crowd. You know they would have had a better match, and that would have been a
right.
fantastic end to the show.
Question: Royal Rumble. Say Roman Reigns wasn't the last one in the ring; it was Edge, and he eliminates Edge. Does he get as big a pop?
Well, no, it's Edge.
Yeah, I
That's
mean
the
that was an
wrong
unfair
person.
question.
Yeah, that's the no. That's Edge.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
You
I
could have
was
had
rigging.
you could have had like, I don't know. You could have had a returning Shawn Michaels eliminate Edge, and people would have been like, no.
Also, right, let's not dwell on Drew McIntyre. We're going back to like Cesaro does
But
not
no.
have the charisma to be a world champion. He hasn't got the mic skills.
But
Yes, he
then
could benefit from a mouthpiece, but he's got Sami Zayn as one. I think he's a
okay.
very talented wrestler, but there are other like Apollo Crews is a talented wrestler. I'm not,
No, Cesaro is
you
more
know,
charisma than Apollo Crews. Come on,
yeah, he does.
don't bring Apollo Crews. I know you love Apollo Crews. Don't
Apollo
bring the
Crews is my
Apollo Crews
boy.
into it. But
Ever
like, so
since
all right,
that match,
Alistair Black. Then Alistair Black. A lot of people want him to win Money in the Bank and therefore almost definitely become a world champion. He is probably as charismatic as Cesaro in terms of his actual
who
mic
who do
work.
you think it would make more sense to put the belt on, Alistair Black or Cesaro?
Alistair Black on the way he's been booked recently because he's been undefeated on a massive streak. I do
Who do you
think
think would
booking
make more
comes
sense? I'm
into
going to
it.
keep going through this. Yeah, but who do you think makes more sense, Sami Zayn or Cesaro?
To be a world champion,
Yeah,
Sami Zayn as a heel or Sami Zayn as a face?
heel.
I'd actually say Sami Zayn would make sense more as a heel, as a face to be world champion than a heel.
All right, as a face. Whatever readings it more going. I'd say like Andrade is probably now ahead of Cesaro. I would
But this is just
say,
he's just been buried in shit booking, Cesaro. Like I
yeah,
honestly reckon if Cesaro won a world title, Cesaro won Money in the Bank, right? He can't obviously win it this year. If Cesaro won Money in the Bank, the pop when he cashes in would be huge. Like it would actually be massive.
I think he would get a huge pop. I think,
Like
but then
it would
again, like
be. There are so many people out there that love Cesaro, and
I'd go as far as to
The
say though that
Cesaro
like
section, James, the Cesaro section.
I think like if Big E went and won the Money in the
But I
Bank,
love
cash,
Biggie. Everyone loves Biggie. Everyone loves
yeah,
Biggie. That's
but
a terrible comparison.
Oh, it's not. because
Everyone loves Big E. Like
it's
a
the
lot
one
of
that
people,
stops in the arrow.
a lot of people have also been like, I would love. A lot of people genuinely like, I want the New Day to break up, or if they do break up anyway, I want Big E to be the solo star. So many
If
people say
they broke them up, Big E has to be the one that turns. But
that.
the downside of that would be, I love the New Day. As much as we shouldn't be promoting other podcasts, they've got an incredible podcast out there, and I'd worry that it would put an end to that.
So you're honestly telling me if at some point in 2020 Cesaro became world champion, you wouldn't be happy about that?
I'd be a bit like, really?
But like, if it was booked properly, you'd be like, yes.
Before my boy Apollo Crews.
Right, if it was right, here's the story. Right, so I don't know, the fiend or someone becomes world champion. Right, picture this story. Right, the Fiend becomes world champion and then has a title match with Apollo Crews. But before he can have this match, Apollo Crews gets fatally injured by the Fiend, and then Cesaro's like, "I'm going to win this one."
Injured.
Not fatally injured. No.
So he's just killed Apollo Crews.
No, he's been very injured, and he's like completely like broken his leg or something. And then like Cesaro is like, I'm gonna do this for you, Apollo, and he has a little black band with like AC on it and everything, and he turns up and beats the Fiend. You're telling me you're not going mental?
I'll be devastated that it isn't my boy Apollo.
And he's there. Then Apollo Crews turns heel on Cesaro and wins the title off him.
Supposedly he might come back as a heel, so that'd be interesting.
Apollo Crews. I don't think I've heard him say a word since his debut.
I don't think his moveset really suits a heel. But anyway, right.
But no, you're telling me you're honestly like, so you honestly would not want to see Cesaro as a world champion at any point?
Not anymore. I think his time's passed.
No, I'd love it. Loads of people love it. If Cesaro won Money in the Bank, I can't.
Oh, here it is. This is the unpopular opinion of the night.
If Cesaro won Money in the Bank, you wouldn't be like, fucking yes.
The Money in the Bank. If he was even in the match, I'd be like, all right, well, he's just there to do some spots.
No, if Cesaro won Money in the Bank, you're telling me you wouldn't be like, yes.
If he was in the match, he's there for the same reason. Like
disgrace. Cesaro is legit money. He is so good.
Cesaro is a wannabe Apollo Crews.
I mean, everyone's wannabe Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews is going to win the Money in the Bank. He's going to be there in a helicopter. He's going to fly to the top.
Do you know what? Genuinely, if that happened, I'd lose my mind.
I'd be like, this
is the they've ever done.
I would just be done. That would be me. I would be like, I would stop watching wrestling because I'd be like, they've peaked.
I'd want wrestling more.
I'd be like, they've peaked. They can't beat Apollo Crews getting a helicopter to the top of Titan Towers.
And his entrance music is blaring out of the helicopter.
Well, they open the Money in the Bank contract for some weird reason, and it's just a loudspeaker playing his theme, and he's above them in a helicopter holding the real briefcase. Like dun, 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 dun,
dun. Anyway, we should probably wrap because we've
gone on a passionate rant about Apollo Crews, but
you've enjoyed our kind of ramble. We decided this was what we would do on a Friday night. But we'll have a lot more episodes coming out. Obviously, we've got Money in the Bank. We've got to get our predictions out of the way for that, and we have more specials that will come out with while the lockdown is all on. In the meantime, feel free to check out uselessaggression.com. There you can read all our blogs, our articles, our lists, our fantasy section there. We've got a YouTube channel, which we will definitely put more content on. We've been a little bit rubbish with that recently. And obviously there is this podcast, so feel free to subscribe to it, tell your friends, tell your family, force people to subscribe and download and share and all that jazz. If you want to get in touch with us on Twitter, we're at uselessagpod, or individually, I am at Citadel James.
And I am at Henry Rogers 94.
And stay tuned for more Useless Aggression podcast.